back on the campaign trail this afternoon. You have less than 4 hours now to cast your vote in Utah's primary election. Utah's elected leaders, along with hopeful candidates, are awaiting tonight's final results as people are still out there casting their ballots.
Yes, as Utahns are getting out to cast their ballot, we are joined by former Governor Gary Herbert. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Honored to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the first question, how much impact do you think the Republican convention will have on tonight's primary, would you say, the convention system?
Not a lot. Some got to the primary because they won in convention, but it's almost like a new beginning here. It's a new campaign, different constituency, a lot more Republicans in the primary, just 4,000 to deal with in the convention system.
Right.
So it's kind of a new campaign, and I think the results will be a little bit different.
How has politics here in Utah changed over the last 10 years?
Well, it certainly got more intense. I think we're a little less civil, a little less respectful of difference of opinion. It's us versus them, and unfortunately them becomes the enemy. The teams between Republican and Democrat, my team's got to win. That means your team has got to lose. I'll do everything possible to make sure that that happens.
What do you make? It seems like there's a lot of choices out there for voters as they head to the polls. What do you make of the choices that voters have as we come into this election cycle?
Well, I think there's been a lot of good people, men and women, who've stepped forward and say, choose me. That's kind of an egotistical thing to do. It's hard for people to do that, really. But we've had, I think, as you look at the slates for all the different offices, whether it be the governor, attorney general, House of Representatives, the Senate race, and others even down ballot, we have a lot of good people that are stepping up and running for office. That's healthy for the process, healthy for the democracy, healthy for Utah to have good people step up. I've always said there's no losers in this. There might be some that get less votes than somebody else, but the process is enriched when people step up and say, let's have a debate of the ideas and policies and see what the public would like to see happen on the next election cycle.
With the recent legislative session, there were laws that were passed, some that people were happy with and others not so happy with. Do you think that that would greatly influence reaching out to the younger voters? Do you think they would be turned off based off of the laws that have been passed?
Give me an example of what laws passed you were talking about.
Well, specifically, there are those who are concerned about, for instance, with DEI. And so, you know, that impacts some of the younger vote. So do you think that that would impact and maybe turn off younger voters when it comes to heading to the polls?
I think what turns off younger voters is the divisiveness, the yelling back and forth, the name calling. You're corrupt, I'm wonderful, you're corrupt. I think that's what's turning off the young people. As I work at the Utah Valley University and the institute we have down there, people are reluctant to get engaged in this, some kind of a mud-throwing contest. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think most people don't even know what that means. So I think there's confusion out there of what that means and why people are for it and why people are against it. But it's the divisiveness, the anger, win at all costs that's, I think, turning off our young people from participating. We need to change that, by the way. That's not healthy for our future.
Absolutely. All right, well, former Governor Gary Herbert, thank you very much for taking a few minutes to chat with us as voters are heading out to the polls and having their voice heard.